7 p.m. The meeting will be called to order. Welcome to the 289th annual town meeting for the town of Sturbridge. I opened last year's ATM with some historical information on the genesis and importance of our town meeting form of government. Massachusetts town meetings were a foundational influence on the Declaration of Independence, and they served as the primary school of liberty and a practical mechanism for building the political consensus required to separate ourselves from Great Britain. The Massachusetts Moderators Association has provided some information that they wish moderators to present to their town meetings in that celebration of our 250th or semi-quincentennial anniversary that we're celebrating, and that we'll have some events for later on in the spring. So the information you're about to hear is from the Uniform Massachusetts Moderators Association suggestion, as long as some information from one of our town residents who wrote this wonderful book. It's not a plug, this is just where I got the information, so I'm giving him credit. To Defend All That Is Dear by Wally Hersey. It has some great information on soldiers that fought in the Revolutionary War, who were from Sturbridge. You may want to take a look. So, when the British passed the Massachusetts Government Act in 1774 to ban town meetings, it was taken as a direct assault on our liberties. In response,
Tried applying the
towns walked into
It was already going.
so that they could continue their
I
meetings,
didn't see it.
often highlighting the grievances listed in the Declaration of Independence. The meetings acted as they do today, a place where neighbors deliberated until a common will was reached. Nearly 60 Massachusetts towns in 1776 alone debated the notion of independence. Some issued declarations on their own, including our town of Sturbridge. On June 27, 1776, we, the town of Sturbridge, held a special town meeting. And from the minutes of that meeting, after a late night debate, the meeting voted on this one question, which was whether should the Honorable Congress, for the safety of the colonies, declare themselves independent of the Kingdom of Great Britain, the inhabitants of this town will solemnly engage their lives and fortunes to support them in this measure. Pretty heavy stuff. On that day, our town of Sturbridge voted for independence from Great Britain, and they committed to the upcoming Revolutionary War. We can be proud of that today, and take that spirit with us into the semi-quincentennial events planned for later this spring. And as I noted, many residents of Sturbridge did fight in the Revolutionary War, and you can take a read of Wally Hersey's book if you're interested. So by charter and past practice, there is no quorum needed to hold this meeting, but in this town meeting spirit of 250 years ago, I'm glad you're here tonight, and we will begin. Please silence, or better yet, turn off your cell phones. Please make note of the exits from the auditorium. I wish there were more so it wouldn't be so blazing hot in here. Please do not stand, folks in the back, please do not stand or congregate in the aisles or in the back. And unless you are working for the meeting, please remain seated. At this time, if you would, please stand if you are able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States
of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would remain standing, please, for a moment of silence. I would like us to reflect on the importance and for the safety of our military members, our first responders, for the health and prosperity of our sometimes fractured nation, and for the members of our community that have passed away since our special town meeting held in November. They are Richard Volpe, Finance Committee, Design Review, 250th celebrations, historical markers and monuments, memorials, and Board of Health. Ron Komar, Animal Control Officer and Constable. Joe Friedis, a youth sports coach and a member of the Finance Committee. And Vincent Southall, Recycling Center employee. Please, a moment of silence. Thank you, and you may be seated. Now we will have introductions and opening statements, if any, from the Finance Committee, the Select Board, Town Administrator, and Town Council. Also up on the stage with us tonight are Lynn Gerard, our Town Clerk, who is responsible for recording the town meeting votes, and Francis Wojtorski, our Administrative Assistant to the Town Administrator. And we have Chuck Fossey, Jeremy Jalbert, and some others here helping us with the IT. So first, Finance Committee Chair Kevin Smith.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening. Thank you for your participation in this annual and special town meeting. Your voice and your votes convert the ideas and ideals of democracy into action. To prepare for tonight, the Finance Committee began working on January 13th. Between that date, April 10th, when the report you hold was first posted on the town's website, the Finance Committee analyzed everything from the purchase of a school bus to office equipment warranties, from group discounts and state aid to capital planning and utility costs, from pending legislation to insurance premiums. The Finance Committee also focused on the cost-benefit relationship of a proposed specialized equipment to plow the Fiskdale sidewalks. And bit by bit, the Finance Committee examined all the other components of each warrant article in the budget. Today, Sturbridge holds an enviable bond rating of AA plus stable outlook, which means when you vote to borrow money, you pay less through your taxes by being more attractive to lenders. And the town's impressive amount of free cash enables the town to pay year-round for needed goods and services, which protects you from more borrowing and having to pay additional interest. Sturbridge enjoys an excellent financial reputation. That is thanks to long-standing and careful work of many people over a long period of time. The Finance Committee's recommendations to you reflect its twin aims of maximizing value and minimizing costs. Being fully aware of mounting pressure on taxpayers, the Finance Committee does your legwork in scrutinizing the details and always hunting for value. The legwork results in the Finance Committee's recommendations on the Select Board's warrant and budget. Now, in this democratic forum, everything is up to you. Your decisions shape the future of Sturbridge. And as always, I ask you to consider your votes carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Chair of the Select Board, Jamie Goodman.
Check, check.
First of all, I just want to say thank you to the Select Board that served our new member Fabian. It's a lot of hours these folks put in. And in that spirit, I'd like to also thank the town employees who serve our community and all of our volunteers. This takes an enormous amount of work to achieve what we achieve in this community. And it is all people who give their time without any remuneration, without any real benefit for themselves other than taking care of their community. And in that spirit, thank you all for being here tonight. And please, as we move forward in the next year, stay active. We need people participating for any of this work. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to our moderator and our town administrator. And thank you everyone. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Goodwin. Town Administrator Robin Grimm.
Thank you all, and thank you on the heels of the moderator's comments about the 75th centennial. Thank you all for participating in sort of, I guess, what we would consider the purest form of government as our founding fathers, I believe, saw it. And that was government by the people, and this time you are government by the people. I don't want to list the people that I see out here that come by my office routinely or that I meet at the senior center on my Tuesday morning coffee with the seniors. Again, that's part of the participatory government that is so important in our country, and we sit in the heart of it here in New England. I want to thank the Select Board for their continued trust in my work and support, and I especially want to thank my team. Not one article that you see tonight would happen without hours and hours of work behind the scenes from various members of the team. So a little public shout out to them. Thank you all for all the work you do all.
Thank you, Dr. Grimm. And Attorney Eichmann, if you have any comments.
Jonathan Eichman.
It is.
Jonathan Eichman, Town Council. I'm glad to be here. I wasn't prepared to make any remarks, but I can say I've served the town for quite a while. This, in my opinion, is an extremely well-run town. And the way you can tell that is that you don't hear from me very often.
We like that. All right, there are a few preliminary issues I need to address, so bear with me. Our bylaws require the moderator to appoint members of the Finance Committee on a rotating basis. This year, 2 of the 3 members whose terms are up have graciously agreed to continue their service, and I am reappointing them to 19 3-year terms, which start on July 1st of 2026. And they are Mike Hager and MC Porter. Thank you very much for your continued service. Our member, Chris DeRose, has chosen not to renew his commitment, and I thank him for his time on the Finance Committee and service to our town. And that leaves an open spot on the Finance Committee. I am looking for a qualified and dedicated candidate to fill this position. If you are interested in serving on the Finance Committee, please email me a statement of interest and your qualifications to moderator@sturbridge.gov. You can find that address on the website. All right, as your moderator, I will provide our town with a fair and procedurally correct town meeting. That will require our mutual respect and understanding of the rules of the meeting. Non-voters, I think for the most part, know that you should be seated over here in this area, unless you're a caretaker for someone who you need to sit next to in other areas of the auditorium. Please make your way over to this non-voters area. Next, speakers. We are here to address the articles in the warrant as scheduled, and I welcome your statements and questions on them. However, it's very important for all of us to understand that this is not a forum to air grievances or to discuss other matters. We must stick to the warrants as posted in your booklet. Motions as they appear in the warrant and substitute motions if any. I have received a request and will allow an informational presentation in connection with Article 6. I have advised that group that they are limited to 10 minutes. This limit does not include the time needed that for them to answer any of your questions. Speakers in general, if you want to address the meeting, to ask a question, or to discuss a motion, you must first be recognized by the moderator. Please, where are our microphones? Oh, there it is, okay. Please walk up to the microphone. This is why the lighting is poor, and I should wear my glasses. So there they are. Please walk up to the microphone so that I can see you and I can call on you. If you're disabled or otherwise unable to walk up to the microphone, please raise your hand, somehow let us know, and we will make sure that a microphone is brought to you so that you may ask your question. Before speaking, you must state your name and address. Voting speakers will have 3 minutes to ask their questions or make a statement. Extensions to that time are within the discretion of the moderator. And again, the time limits will not necessarily apply to those who will answer any questions that you may present to town meeting. The traffic light you'll see over on my left to your right, it's our 3rd year for this visual aid timing of a traffic light. It's your visual cue on how long someone has been talking. 3 minutes really is a long time. And even at that, while it's a short time, it could maybe feel like 3 hours. Please be patient with your fellow town meeting members while they're asking their questions. And I would like to give a shout out to our volunteers from the National Honor Society, Will Ness-Lucid and Mitchell Leo, who are helping us here tonight. All right, to these speakers, keep in mind that the longer you talk, the greater chance you have to confuse or rather than persuade. If you can get your point across in 1 minute, by all means do it. You don't have to use the 3 minutes just because you have it. Also, I ask that you please listen to what has been asked or stated by those who may have come before you. Repetitive statements or questions are not helpful to this body. It's the vote that counts, not the number of people who speak for or against an issue. And the moderator will reserve the right to halt repetitive statements or questions. If it becomes a pro versus con, I'll try to alternate that if it becomes important. At some point, a member of the town meeting will grow tired of the discussion and will move the questions. I will not entertain any motion to move the question until 30 minutes of discussion and debate has passed. So please be patient. I also will not entertain any shouts from the audience of move the question. You must come to the microphone and make a motion to move the question. If and when a proper motion is made to move a question, we must immediately consider the motion to move the question. There is no discussion on a motion to move the question. There is also no further discussion allowed on the actual article that may be the subject of a motion to move the question. It is suspended until the motion to move the question has been acted on, and if that motion is made and we take a vote on it, it must pass by 2/3. If the motion to move the question passes, we will vote on the article without any further discussion, and if not, debate will continue until we reach a consensus and are ready to vote. Now, for a reminder on our unofficial code of conduct, civility is the way. That needs no explanation, but let us all try to remember that. Also, rules are very important, and we will follow them. However, I trust that none of us want to rigidly adhere to the rules where maybe a little flexibility will serve this body better, and as long as it's legally permissible and it's warranted, I would like us to be able to do that. The parliamentary procedure that we follow for this town meeting is town meeting time. It's the 4th edition, that's the most recent one. It contains the procedural rules that apply to our town meeting according to our bylaws, section 62.7. But should the rules need to be consulted, or if the rules are actually challenged by a member of the body, I will consult the town council if needed, but ultimately how we proceed is in the discretion of the moderator. Substitute or amended motions, I hearkened on that just a couple of minutes ago. Verbal motions are okay. I much prefer that they be in writing to make sure that we are accurate. If the clerk's notes later on are discovered to be different than what we all thought we were voting on, it's her notes that rule, and therefore that is the reason why it's best to have any substitute motions in writing. Also note that the motion to substitute in article will require a 2/3 vote. I am aware of one request to amend a motion, and that motion has already been provided to me in writing this evening. And then one last note on motions, and it's motions to reconsider. If a town meeting member wants to revisit or move to reconsider a vote, I am going to ask that you make it within a reasonable amount of time. Now, that is not defined anywhere, but in the spirit of fairness and efficiency, I suggest to the town meeting that it be made within 10 minutes of the original vote. Some of you may recall that at our last meeting, a voter waited politely until the end of the meeting before asking to reconsider an article that we had already voted on. While it became clear that the delay by this voter on that motion to reconsider was not a tactical move, it initially appeared that way to some members that it was calculated. We all want the town meeting to be fair, and this proposed time limit encourages fairness and transparency and isn't waiting for people that may have voted one way to leave before this is made. If we need to adjourn, and I hope that we do not, we will reconvene on Monday, May 4th at 7 p.m. Next, everybody who's a voter here have your clickers. We will use the clickers to vote. As you all know, the electronic devices were accepted by the town for use as a part of the revised town charter. And our fail-safe alternative to the clickers is a raise your hand vote. So let's go yay for the clickers. All right, we now have 2 test questions. Francis will put the first one up, and this will be to test the clickers and to make sure that they're all working. This should be 100%, and if it's not, I'm looking for that one person who voted no. Are you a Sturbridge resident? Yes or no? And the voting will start now. Such a drag. Voting is closed. Take your time. One eighty, 185 total, yes, 180, no 5. Is that you again? All right. You have any other numbers? You ready?
Ms. Moderator, Madam Moderator, I have clicker 30 and they did not register and I vote. So should I be doing to
Hang on.
So when you hit the clicker, it should now
It did,
click
but
A or
up
B.
there, it didn't change.
Doesn't show it correct.
Want to show me on the grid? As long as it's showing on your clicker, it's registering. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, so let's bring the hum back down and carry on while Francis and Lynn are working out these details. Finally, before we proceed to the warrant articles, I echo the chair's congratulations to all of the elected officials and appointed volunteers that make up our town government and all of our employees who ensure a smooth running of the town and do their best to ensure a smooth running of the annual meeting. All right, my procedural matters are complete. The warrant for tonight, the official ATM warrant earlier this evening, I reviewed the warrant and I am satisfied that it was properly prepared, executed, and posted in post offices, library, police station, and town hall, and online, and contains the return of the constable who posted it, and it has been verified. May I have a motion to accept it as prepared?
So moved.
We'll have a yea or nay vote. Yay? Nay? Thank you. All right, now we will move on to the warrant articles. The Sturbridge practice is to waive the full and formal reading of the actual articles, meaning we're not going to read through each one. They are comprehensive and in some cases quite lengthy. The warrant articles are available in advance for your review online and a few days ahead of time in the printed form, along with the select board and finance committee votes, and the finance committee dialogue box commentary is also included for your assistance. And so in that line with the yea or nay vote, may I have a motion to approve this continuing practice for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Yea or nay? Yea. Nay? Thank you. All right. Lastly, past practice waives the need for a second on the Finance Committee recommendations. As you've heard from the chair earlier, they've done the work, they have studied the budget and the articles, and the bylaws direct that the Finance Committee make their recommendations. However, as stated a few minutes earlier, any substitute or amended motion will require a second to proceed to the vote, not these printed motions. This helps to move the meeting along. May I have a motion to approve that practice for tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Yea or nay?
Yea.
Nay? Thank you. And we will then move on to the actual warrant. All right. Article 1, town reports. This article is an acceptance of the town reports found in the town report book. Any discussion? The voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. Motion carries. Article 2, Community Preservation Committee Report, Reserve of Annual Revenue and Appropriation of Administration Funds. The Committee Preservation Committee, CPC, is required to submit a report to the town meeting on the proposed use of CPA funds. Any discussion? Voting will begin now. Article 3, Community Preservation Debt Service. This is to pay our debts that we owe in the senior center, center building, and recreational courts. Any discussion? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. And the article passes. Article 4, Community Preservation Gravestone Restoration. Particularly interesting and important in this 250-year celebration. Purpose of the article is to fund the gravestone and monument conservation services for the North Cemetery and the Old Burial Ground. Any discussion? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Community Preservation CPA Property, Creation and Enhancement of Trails. The Trails Committee presents its proposal to the CPA for funding. This year's proposal will allow trail enhancements on several trails, including Lead Mine Trail, Long Pond, Hines Farm, Cabot Loop, Stafford Turnpike, Fisk Hill, Clinton, and the Riverlands. Any discussion? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. And the article passes. Article 6, Brandon Goodwin. As I mentioned at the beginning of the statements, that Trails Committee has 10 minutes to make a presentation for their bridge project. Mr. Goodwin.
Check. Is this working? So, Lee, who should see my backside? Can I go stand over there?
You certainly may.
Thank you. Just to be fair to everybody, I don't want to. Jeremy?
Jeremy Jalbert, we need some technical assistance up front. We'll give Mr. Jalbert a moment. If he can't get in a few seconds, I'll have him work on it, and we'll go to the next article.
Take them all the way, please. Go ahead and show 2 slides. There you go, put the top one right there. Perfect.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, Brandon Goodwin, 56 McGilpin Road, Chair of the Trail Committee. So we are here for the 469A Trail and Bridge Project. It's the same project we talked about last year. Funding's a little different, so we'll talk to that briefly. I'm going to keep it very quick. 2 slides. Right now you're looking at the title slide that shows you on the upper left corner a bridge being dropped in place. This is the same bridge we're talking about, okay? On the right side you'll see walkways that are going across wetlands, and then on the lower left you'll see the trail. These are the 3 items that will make up the project we're talking about, okay? Very straightforward. And this project's been in the works since 2010 in town. We've been talking about it, planning it. We've spent $250 grand of grant money to design it. It's all engineered, ready to go. Both, is part of the town master plan, and it's also part of the commercial tourist revitalization plan that was recently done. So it's being thought about in different ways, not just from a trail perspective. And next slide, please. That's it. So this is the project. We added some color to it this year, so you can see the river. Upper right corner, you can see Route 20, which is the black. The bottom is the brown, that is the Grand Trunk Trail, okay? On the bottom, you see the brown trail and the purple trail. Those are existing trails today on the Riverlands, okay? The bridge is the bright green. And then from there, you'd have boardwalks and trail, the yellow and light blue, that take you to the parking lot that is across from Avelinos, the existing parking lot. And the red is the temporary access down the power line to get there, because there's big equipment going in and we want to do it once. We talked about breaking this up twice into different phases. We can't. It gets very expensive when you pull everything out and put it all back in, go in and do it in phase 1 and phase 2. So we're trying to, less impact on the environment and trying to move the project forward. The green bridge will give you access now in Sturbridge to, everybody talks about where's the bridge going to. You will be able to get to 30 miles of trail from the commercial district in town. You will cross that bridge and have 30 miles of trail at your disposal. Right now, on those 30 miles of trail, we have 56,000 users a year. In town, we have 68,000 people using our trails, unique visitors. We're not measuring all properties, we're measuring most. So we have more than 68,000 people using our trails. Right now, the trails that you get to through the Green Bridge would be 56,000 people that used them last year. With the acorns and the rides that we're doing and everything else that's happening in town, those numbers are going to go up, and they will continue to go up. How do we know that this is going to work? We just opened up on River Road, we opened up a new parking lot to the Grand Trunk Trail, okay? The Grand Trunk Trail that takes you from Paw Plaza all the way to Westville. Because we have an accessible parking lot to the trails, in 4 months we had 5,000 people use the new parking lot and trail. Blew our minds, we were not expecting that. So it proves the point of having accessibility and getting to those trails and having easy access in your neighborhoods. People will use it. This serves an area, Fiskdale, and basically Armour Road to Cedar Street, where there aren't any easy trail accesses. There's nothing downtown, and the whole point is, most places in town we have trails for those neighborhoods. We don't have anything downtown for people to use. Okay? That is the summary of the whole project and the trail. It is $2.245 million. Okay? We've already submitted $500,000 for a state grant. We will submit again for another state grant. We did not win last year because the town didn't win. We didn't go forward with the project. and a few other reasons why in terms of the state was late on funding and some other things happened around that. We are in a very good position this year for this funding. We've talked to the state. We're on top of the priority list in terms of getting funding. So we're in a good position for $500,000 this year, and we will resubmit for another $500,000 next year. The full funding is being requested though, to be clear. It's a full request for $2.2 million. Last year, we gave $500,000 back to the town of CPC funds from all of the grant work we've been doing, because we have ongoing grants all the time. We've given $500,000 back. So the point is once we get the project going, we go out for bids and we do all the work, we should be able to get that cost down and give money back to the town, if our track record holds true. That's it.
Discussion or questions for Mr. Goodwin? Give the microphone back.
Just a quick question. What is the parking capacity next to Avelinos?
The municipal lot?
I mean, is that what you're trying to accomplish, is have parking in town and then people can go across the bridge to the trails, right?
Yeah, parking and or just community access. It's not just solely focused on the parking.
Can everybody hear the answer being given?
Yeah.
The parking is an access point, so to be very clear, while there is a parking lot there, we actually have access all the way from the river to that parking lot. That's why we're using it. So while the parking lot is there and it will be a good access point, locals, people walking to it will be able to access it as well. So it's not just because of the parking.
And the gentleman who just asked the question, would you state your name and address, please? For the record.
Mark L. Smith, 186 Lake Road.
23 spaces? Thanks, Gene.
Any other questions? Further discussion? Yes, sir. We'll have to share the microphone. Name and address, please.
Chris Ferraro, 209 Brookfield. I was just trying to understand. You said you applied for a $500,000 and then you're going to apply for it's $500,000 total. It's not
No,
$1 million.
$1 million total.
$1 million.
Yeah, we do 500 a year. When you have active projects or you have a need, it's easier to get money from the state. It's tough to get money right now from the state because we don't find out about it. And they won't give us money before a project.
Any other discussion or questions for Mr. Goodwin? Please come down to the front if you can. Your name and address, please.
My name is Eunice Snake, and I live on 159 Stallion Hill Road. I see that we're putting in for grants, but what happens if we don't get the grant? Does the project just die from there?
No, it will still, we're asking for full funding so the project can move forward. So the grants would be, once we get the grants, then money would be given back to the town. If you don't get the grants, the project moves forward as is.
All right, so not an ongoing discussion. Let's keep, we're going to have to get a second microphone, moderator.
Can I just clarify for her question? So the funding is all from CPC funding. The funding right now is proposed all out of CPC. If we were to get a grant, we would just use that much less CPC fund. So either way, if we didn't get the grant and you voted tonight, the project will happen just fully out of CPC. If we do get the grant, we'll just use that much less CPC money, which will remain in the balances for CPC.
Thank you, Dr. Grimm. Any other questions?
Christopher Mallon, One Deer Run Circle. Just a quick question. Are we able to make the proposal contingent upon the successful funding from a grant?
Town Council, the question was,
Contingent on the grant receipt.
so the appropriation cannot be made contingent on grant funding. So the town meeting appropriates or does not appropriate. You could, by motion, make spending of the funds contingent upon grant fund release.
So at this time, could I make a motion to amend it, to make it contingent upon successful grants of $1 million?
They're done year to year. That was to start with 10 minutes.
So the issue.
Chair, Jamie Goodwin.
So the issue that we're going to
Name and
have,
address, please, sir.
this, I don't know if I'm commenting as the chair or as myself, but Jamie Goodwin, 262 Main Street. The issue that we run into with the state is that they want the exercise of the CPC funds. That is what they look at the project. If we're making the commitment to the funds, you're more likely to get the grants. It's the tension point, politically speaking, is you end up in no man's land. So we might not get it if we don't do it, but these are all coming out of CPC funds anyways, which are all within a certain line item of use as this type of land use, and other functionalities like affordable housing and the like. So it isn't out of the general fund. So it's sort of, it's the ping pong effect of back and forthing from the state is where the tension point comes, because you can kind of end up in a no man's land a little bit with the back and forth. So it's a logical point, Chris, but it's just that's where the tension on it comes, if that makes any sense.
It does. I mean, even if there is tension, am I still able to make that motion?
Yes.
I would like to do so, please.
Let's take a moment and write it out, unless you can be very precise.
If I could take a moment to write it out, that would be preferred.
The clerk can assist you, or, okay, Mr. Hager will take that. Does your proposed question interfere with their ability to write a substitute motion?
I don't think so.
I don't want to distract them. Mr. Gasper, your name and address, please.
Eric Gaspar, 4 Deer Run Circle. It's a preserved conversation right now. But anyway, I think it would be helpful if we could get an explanation for the room about CPC funds and how they're collected and allocated versus regular tax dollars that come in through our property tax. My guess is that a significant portion of the room does not understand how that all affects this conversation. And if somebody could give a succinct explanation, I think it might be helpful on this question.
Barbara Berry or Dr. Grimm?
So, that's a good point. CPC is something that is voted on, what was voted on is the town to adopt. And with CPC funding, it's a percentage of your percentage of tax that goes to it. And that money is allocated into pots for very specific uses. It's not general fund money. It's separate and apart from your general fund money. And it goes into pots for open space, housing, recreation, and historic preservation. And we have to use the money for those purposes. That's why I akin it to a Christmas club account almost. You put money aside and it builds up until you have a nice project you want to do. We can't do that type of work with the general fund. You can't hold money in accounts. And this is really designed for the wonderful things that a town can do, nice to have, that you can't put in a general fund because it would have such a huge impact on your overall taxes. And you can't carry things over with the general fund. So basically it's set up as, if you will, a savings account for very specific purposes and projects. And I don't know if Eric, if that sort of answers the question. But this bridge falls into one of those categories. And I see Penny raising her hand.
Yeah.
Certainly refer to Penny, who's the chair of our CPC.
Chairwoman, I'm just going to rescind my amendment, okay?
You're rescinding your motion to
Yes, I
amend.
am. Thank you.
Thank you for your interest and your effort, sir. Any other questions or comments? Please come down to the microphone. You can line up. More than one can come down at a time for the sake of efficiency. The gentleman in the dark shirt first, please. Name and address, sir.
Chris Farrar, 209 Brookfield Road, and I just had a question for the administrator. So that the funds are allocated for recreation, bridges, community housing, but they're not necessarily earmarked within them. So if we didn't spend 1 million or whatever it's gonna be on a bridge, it could go to community housing, it's just gotta be one of those, they're not like sectioned off within it.
No, there is a percentage breakdown in each of those pots of money, if you will. So you could take this million and put it toward housing. And you could take the housing money and put it toward this. There's a little bit of a general fund, but the pots are very clearly broken down into very specific areas.
So do we know where this falls in terms
Under
of
the
those?
open space.
But that allocation,
And
is that like,
the general.
are we
Right,
like
one-
extreme to one way or the
No,
other?
so it.
One at a time, please.
Yeah, so it comes out of the open space, and then you see the 700,000 portion comes out of the general, the unrestricted.
It's in the article.
Well, it's also, if I may, just on page 45.
Chairman Smith.
So in the CPC report, they break them all down by the categories. You just see how the money's allocated.
Page 45, the balance table is there. Thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. Mr. No, your name and address, please.
Rob Surrey, 124 Leadmine Lane. So last year, I was here last year at the meeting, it did get voted down, very similar article with the, it failed to reach the 2/3 vote. So for this vote this year, is this a 50% majority?
This is a simple majority because we are not borrowing funds.
We're not borrowing funds.
Correct.
So I would just like to say that it seems like if you read the very thoughtfully written part from the Finance Committee in the beginning of the book, about the financial status of the town, we're still in pretty good shape, but it's kind of not looking that great. If we voted against it last year, I didn't see, a marked improvement in the economy for myself or the town. They put up out on the finance coming year over year, so if it was voted down last year, the economy's not getting any better for us. Okay? Thank you.
Madam
Thank you for your comment.
If I could just respond to that very briefly.
Certainly.
I think, and that's a valid point, but I think, again, we go back to the fact that the CPC money is already sitting there. And you asked the question about last year and borrowing, and I think there was concern about borrowing and going into a debt situation. This year, without the borrowing, it's money that is sitting there to be spent. The town really should not hold taxpayers' CPC money inordinately. We can't turn around and take that money and use it to deal with economic issues we might have in the general fund. So it's there to be spent, as opposed to with the general fund money where I look at the budget and I say it's sort of there for us not to spend it unless we really have to. This is a slightly different pot of money, and without the borrowing, there's far less risk. This is money we have, and it's there to be spent.
Thank you, Dr. Grimm. Do you have a question?
Comment?
Name and address, please.
Joshua Boyster, 36 Cricket Drive. I just want to say thank you all the committee members and all the hard work everyone does, and thank you everyone for coming out here, being part of this. I do think this is a good initiative. We mentioned earlier the Grand Trunk Trail extension. I've used it, and I've seen a lot of other people using it. I see a lot of families, kids with little bikes going up and down, people with dogs. I was in there, the parking lot was full actually last time I went, so it is very popular, and I see, the expansion and greater accessibility for the trails, I think would be a great addition to the town, and I think it would get a lot of use. Being outdoors is great for people, great for mental health, great for exercise. It's a great part of this town. So I just want to say a couple quick tidbits about my thoughts about the project. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Amanda Hellier, One Woodside Circle. I also had a brief comment. I just wanted to make note that if the town were to ask state representation for letters of support, that's a common practice and could, I know that, am I as the district director of this Senate district, am I able to speak right now or not? I just.
You're speaking as a voter.
As a voter, okay. So hypothetically, I just wanted to state that I believe that we'd be able to lobby to Senator Batman, that we'd be able to write a letter of support, and often with DCR, when you are able to read letters of support from your elected officials, that carries some weight as well. So just making a note that this is, I believe, as a resident, this is a good utilization of funding, and if you were to email your delegation, they would uplift your efforts as well.
Thank you for your comment.
Kenneth Heimela, 12 Barbara Lane, and I'm just looking for some clarification. I believe Sturbridge is at the maximum for the community preservation tax rate on homeowners. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct? So you could give some economic relief to townspeople by reducing that tax rate.
If separate and apart from this article, it would impact the money that we already have, but going forward, if people wanted less collected, but I believe that the match that the Commonwealth gives is directly in relation to what we collect.
Okay,
So
it
we
just
would, our
seems-
match would go down as well.
So maybe we get some clarification on that matching, because it seems like the town feels like this money's burning a hole in their pocket, and the taxpayers are taking the burden.
We get matched as we collect. It's not what's sitting in the pot that we continue to earn.
I understand,
Yes.
I understand, but it's my money to collect, and then you spend.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your comment and question.
Good evening, I'm Penny Dumas, I'm Chair of the Community Preservation Committee.
Address, please.
Pardon me?
Name and address as
Penny
well.
Dumas, 136 Walker Pond Road, that's more important. I am Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, which is more important than my address in my mind, but just give it to me. I think it's really important to clarify a couple of questions that were said. So the state has legislation for Community Preservation Act. To date, 201 communities in Massachusetts have adopted the act. Sturbridge was one of the first towns to adopt the act in 2001. Yes, you can put the surcharge on your bill of up to 3%, and Sturbridge chose 3% for the very specific reason that Dr. Grimm outlined. The higher you have that you collect from your town, the more state funds you have. So since we adopted the Community Preservation Act, we have collected $5,698,342 from the state. That's a 57% match to our local surcharge. For the local surcharge, your property, if it's valued at less than $100,000, you are not issued a surcharge. If you have a $500,000 home, the first $100,000 of your property valuation is exempt. So then you take that $100,000 off of the evaluation of your home. Whatever you pay on your taxes of that amount of your valuation, we have a surcharge of 3%. In my family, my surcharge is $147 per year. For what you get for your money, for that kind of an investment and what the state gives back, I don't think you could find any financial advisor that would say, bad idea, lower your surcharge, or get rid of the act altogether. We are not feeling like the money's burning a hole in our pocket. On the contrary, there are so many excellent projects that can be funded with CPA. But they can only come from 4 different categories: historic, open space, community housing, and recreation. Now, not the recreation, but the other 3. 10% of your CPA dollars must go towards that fund, that account. Okay? The remaining 70% can go to any of those 3 and/or recreation. This project has been on the books for 10 years, no more than 10. It was 10 years last year, so 11 years. The reason it's on the books and came in front of us is the first task that we had to hit was look into the project. The reason we needed to take on that task was our commercial tourist revitalization plan and our open space plan and our master plan all put getting across the river from the commercial tourist district by bridge and footbridge should be a priority for your town. But should we go to the town and ask the townspeople to up your taxes and pay for that when you have CPA?
Ms. Dumas,
Absolutely not.
We've
So
reached,
that's what your
we've reached the
CPA
3
funds
minutes.
are.
If you could conclude your
very good.
educational point, please.
I would just say that, just know that this project will connect the commercial tourist commercial tourist district, where your restaurants, your breweries, your distilleries are. Take the walk down the sidewalk, over the footbridge, over the bridge, and then you have your walk. You can get all the way over to the Grand Trunk, really, because we have so much connectivity. This is a key project we've been working on for 11 years, and I urge you to support the project. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Eunice Ney, 159 Stallion Hill Road. I heard recreation is part of this fund that can be used. I'm wondering when we are going to prioritize athletic fields in
All right,
town.
Madam, I'm calling your question out of order. We are addressing the article for voting for the trail bridge. That can come at another time. Athletic fields, but not this evening. I'm calling that out of order. Thank you.
Jane Fountain, 44 Old Village Road. Whenever I see an amount over $1 million, to me, growing up in a humble family and someone who's very careful about my money, I am very careful about that. I would expect that this bridge, just having looked at the photos, will last at least 50 years. If I divide that amount, say just $1.5 million by 50, that's $30,000 a year. So if you put this in perspective to the time span that we would expect, I mean, I don't know if it's 100 years, 75 years, 40 years, that helps me to put this project into perspective, so I hope it will go forward. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other questions or comment before we move to the vote? Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, can we just pull up the map again and get a better idea of how much? I was confused by the map. If you could explain that a little bit.
Stand by.
Comment,
If you
Moyer
could come to the
Palmer.
microphone with your specific question to address to Mr. Goodman. You can proceed while the questioner comes
Comment,
up.
Moyer Palmer. Luke Bardsley, 52 Streeter Road. I come to the meeting every year. Taxpayer work all week long. Don't get to pay attention all the time online to what you guys are discussing and proposing. So at these meetings, I just think it's very helpful that you guys point out, especially like on page 45 that you guys showed here. You really need to point these things out to people that cannot follow along all year long. You guys are there working hard, appreciate you working hard. It does make sense when you point these out that, hey, we have these funds sitting there, we can use them for these projects. If we want to talk about reducing the percentage, 3%, if we want, those are other topics that can be discussed at later points. I don't know when we have those later discussions, or we can talk about other things such as ball fields, when those can come up. We can't participate every single week like you guys do. So that you're there to represent us. We need to know about these things. But I would like you to be able to point these out, talk about them more, and explain them more, because, I mean, I can come once a year and vote, but I need to understand fully, and this at least lays it out, and I appreciate that. So, think of elderly in our town and the taxes that we do pay as you continue on this year. Elderly they need to be able to stay in this town and stay in their houses, and they're paying too much taxes. Take that into consideration, please, as you move forward.
Thank you for your comment.
Allison Heim, 112 Wildwood Lane. All right, so that's the new parking lot, that black.
Right up to the microphone.
Upper left.
That's the new parking lot, okay.
Yes.
And then this is Route 20.
Yes.
The river, and I apologize, this is a dumb question. Is this that river they just did the river race on?
Yes.
Okay, because it looks huge. But we're talking about that river. So the bridge is coming and connecting, where is Sawdust Coffee House in relation to where the bridge is? If that would help me out.
About above Lynn's head over here.
So if she stood up and put her finger up, it'd be all right there.
Okay, so this green and yellow, or blue and yellow trail that's running from the parking lot to the green bridge is about how much distance? Like, what is that, like a quarter of a mile?
No, it's more than that. I think it's like 3/4 of a mile.
Okay, so that's 3/4 of a mile, and then the bridge, which is going across the river, and then to access the Grand Trunk Trail, or whatever the purple thing is, you would just go a little bit further down Route 20 by Sturbridge Coffee House?
No. So you've got on the green, the purple trail. Both sides of the purple trail connect to the Grand Trunk.
Okay, so both sides of that trail, but how would you get there? How do you get there now? You go
So today you go to the
20
parking lot that's that's a quarter mile from Sawdust on Stallion Hill. Right in front of you where the village is?
Yeah.
Across the street from the village is a trailhead.
Okay, so there's a parking lot that's there now that you can get to. This just makes it so you can make it to the brewery across the river to the
You can, yeah, this is in the center of the commercial district. So you're talking, Sawdust is over here.
Yep.
And so you drive, you can walk down the trails and go in, a mile in to get to this bridge area.
Okay, so 3/4 of a mile in that green and, blue and
Yeah,
yellow.
whatever, yeah,
And then that green is the bridge,
correct.
and that's what we're looking at for $2.5 million.
Yeah, that long trail and then the access point of the bridge, correct. And then we revitalize, the purple trail would be redone because you have to access it from the other side as well.
Okay, and that's the gravel part, right?
Excuse
The
me?
gravel part?
That's the Brickyard Trail.
Okay.
Yeah,
That was, I appreciate that.
no problem.
Matt Graniff, 9 Woodside Circle. On page 48, it says we have $2.8 million for this, and Eunice had pointed out the fields. If we don't spend this on the bridge, we still have that money to spend on other things. We can vote on things like fields, correct?
Right now, we're voting on this
But that
and how.
money could be, if we voted no, that money could be used for something else.
Of course.
Thank you.
Well, but the 700,000
In the same
water use, the larger number, the 1 million and change, is out of the open space. That's the deal. Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Just for our 209 Brookfield, is there any lighting as part of the project that some of these attraction of businesses, restaurants, and people are walking on those trails that wouldn't be doing at night?
There's no lighting as part of the project.
I'm afraid to ask. Any other questions? Lingering thoughts? Something that will keep you awake if you don't ask it now. Hearing none, the voting begins now. Five seconds. The article passes. Article 7, Community Preservation Affordable Housing Trust. The Affordable Housing Trust presents a proposal each year with a request for CPA funds. This particular request will cover the salary of the housing coordinator, costs, legal fees, and some other things as noted in the dialogue box. Any questions or comments on this article? Hearing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 8, the budget. When you came in this evening, many of you were given a replacement Article 8 with a recommendation of the Finance Committee. That is what we are voting on. That includes the vote to amend the article by doing an exchange of veteran services personnel costs, which is line item 61 and line item 62. Do I have that correct, Madam Town Administrator? Yes. All right. With that said, we will go to the budget, at which point I'm going to go to each department and read the total. If you wish to hold something, hold, state your name and address, and we will come back to it. Otherwise, we are going to go through the entire budget, planning on passing that and going back to any holds on any particular items. Does everyone understand that? You go in your booklet. On page 1, I will begin with the actual budget. Board of Selectmen, $3,600. Town Administrator, $342,167. Finance Committee, $7,742. There is a hold. Larry Morrison, Old Farm Road. Town Accountant, $135,267. Board of Assessors, $193,791. Finance Director, $427,887. Town Council, $75,000. Information Technology, $438,511. Town Clerk, $163,690. Elections and Registration, $37,130. Conservation Commission, $142,457. Planning Department, $268,262. Zoning Board of Appeals, $590. Economic Development, $41,940. Facilities, $97,646. Town Hall, $33,770. Center Office Building, $31,180. Senior Center Building, $22,000. Joshua Hyde Library Building, $22,650. Safety Complex, $100,951. Nursery School, $5,740. 8 Brookfield Road, 0. Police Department, $4,198,030. Fire Department, $2,597,597. Building Inspector, $163,677. Sealer of Weights and Measures, $25,000. Inspectors, $53,700. Tree Warden, $39,251. Education, $23,545,648. Department of Public Works, $1,444,685. $1,447,685. Town Road Maintenance, $10,000. Did I hear a hold? No. Snow and ice removal, $246,051. Landfill and Recycling Center, $419,902. Board of Health, $156,159. Community Health Care, $5,000. Inspections and Testing, $65,969. Council on Aging, $200,694. Veteran Services, $101,900. The substitute motion that I mentioned in the two transposed items that I mentioned at the start of Article 8, this is the section that it appears in. Thank you, Mr. Smith. The amount stays the same. It's a difference in accounting. Joshua Hyde Library Operations, $642,655. Recreation, $144,176. Trails Committee, $400. Historical Commission, $4,150. Debt Service Principal, $1,625,000. Debt Service Interest, $559,583. Unclassified, $6,834,218. Central Purchasing, $450,050. There was a hold on Finance Committee. Mr. Morrison. Speaking as Citizen Morrison, not as a member of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The section Finance Committee, directly under the words Finance Committee, you will see personnel costs. That is proposed at $4,992. That is the salary for the recording secretary of the Finance Committee, who is not a member of the Finance Committee. By law, in this state, no Finance Committee member may receive any compensation whatsoever. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. There were no holds. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, voting begins now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The budget article passes. Article 9, road construction, repairs, and maintenance. The town funds road repair and maintenance through an annual warrant article, which does not expire at the end of the fiscal year, to allow the Department of Public Works greater flexibility in meeting your road repair needs. Any comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 10, Public Access Department. This pays for our public cable access for items such as tonight's broadcast. Any questions or comments? Hearing or seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. One moment, please, to ensure that we are keeping on legal track. Article 10 passes. Article 11, Sturbridge Tourist Association. The revenues that fund this article are from our 6% hotel motel tax, which are split, some going to the general fund, some going to the Sturbridge Tourist Association article item. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 12, Betterment Committee. You can see the list of betterment items. The revenues derived from that 6% hotel motel tax, which are split between the general fund and some for funding the Sturbridge Tourist Association, and a percentage towards the Betterment Committee. Any questions or comments? Your name and address, please.
Doreen Grout, 9 Cedar Pond Drive.
A little closer to the microphone, please.
Doreen Grout, 9 Cedar Pond Drive. I just want to know, Big Allen Lake, why are they getting $20,000 and what's it used for?
Is there a representative from Big Allen with us tonight?
Yeah, I can do it. Hello, Tim Harrington, 322 The Trail.
Thank you for helping to clarify this question.
Oh, of course. So yeah, I'm the chair of the Big Allen Lake Environmental Committee, and the money is being requested are for a comprehensive study of the lake and watershed, so we can ascertain the underlying issues with the proliferating aquatic weeds and algae that that we're up against. Of course, Big Allen Lake is 200 acres of recreation, open space, so I put in an application for the beautification and recreation on the water.
Any follow-up to that?
Now, that was on, obviously, Cedar Lake, and so, yeah, fill out an application.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I can ask this question right now, but, tell me if I can or not.
I will.
But I know we're voting, and, we're voting on hundreds of thousands of dollars, $1 million here, 300 here. After we vote all that, are our taxes gonna go up? I mean, how do we know how much bridges go up? Are they gonna go up after voting all this money in?
It's a bit out of order, but if you can give a 30-second answer, please.
So when we sit down to do a budget, we look at what we can raise through the tax levy based on the state's top 2.5 principle. So we can only raise our total levy 2.5%. So we look at what a 2.5% increase on the levy is. We look at what growth, new growth might be, and we look at state aid. Those are our major pots of money, if you will. We then have a number. We build a budget separately. I don't like to build to the number because it's not like we want to spend every penny, though we do. But we're not building it that way. We build a budget. Every department submits their request to me for whatever it is they want. Betterment, which is a separate pot of money, is the local receipts. That's a totally different pot of money. But the millions that you're talking about in the budget that just passed, we then have departments recommend. I know what our cap is. I know the most we can ask for, or the most we can spend. We then work on that budget. We reduce numbers, we cut things, we go back to the departments and say, sorry, we can't have this, or maybe next year, and that's how we come up with the balanced budget, because we can only increase the total levy by 2.5%. The betterment money comes out of the state reimbursement for hotel and meals for the hotels, thank you, for the local receipts on hotels. So that comes out of a tax that's separate for the hotel rooms, the extra percentage that got added by state law and state legislation. So this money is not from the general fund.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
Mark Smith, 186 Lake Road. I'm also president of Big Allen Lake Association. I want to make it clear that we're doing a study of the lake, so we're not just saying to the town, hey, we have weeds, give us money, we need to get rid of the weeds. It's not like that. We're doing a comprehensive study, hiring professionals to get to the bottom of what's happening, and we're working with the Conservation Commission of the town, and we've said we will be happy to share all the information that we have so that it can be used for other lakes, etc. So it's not, in my mind, it's not just for our lake, it's for lakes in Sturbridge. And I encourage you to vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Chairman Smith, did you have a question?
I just wanted to go back to the prior speaker's question. The answer is yes, your taxes are going to go up. That's the simple answer. Although the town administrator is correct that this money is coming from two funds we set aside from hotel, motel, and meals taxes. But if you just look at the line item budget, it went up 4.1%. So that's going to get paid for, and that's going to come out of property taxes. So the formula for calculating how much your property tax is going to go up, we have tried to do that in past years. It's very complicated, and the numbers really aren't available to do it until closer to the end of the fiscal year. But in the short answer, your property taxes are going up.
Thank you for the educational moment. I am going to draw our attention back to Article 12 on the Betterment Committee funding request. Any additional comments or questions on the article? Hearing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 13, Capital Improvement Plan. This article will fund a portion of the highest rated capital needs for our town. Any comments or questions on this article? Hearing or seeing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 14, Capital Stabilization Fund. This fund's used to maintain an equipment replacement and facilities maintenance schedule. Any questions or comments on this article? Hearing or seeing none, the voting will start now. Voting is closed. The article passes.
Luke Bardsley, 52 Streeter Road. I'd like to make a motion to go to a revote on Article 13.
On Article 14, so you have a motion to reconsider?
Reconsider Article
All
13.
right, let's start. We're going to complete the Article 14, and I'll call you in 1 moment, Mr. President. The voting is closed on Article 14, and that article passes. After the close of that vote, gentlemen, move to reconsider Article 13, Capital Improvement Plan. Please come forward and make your motion. And the basis for it, please.
Luke Bardsley, 52 Streeter Road. But basis for reconsideration is that the recommendation of the Finance Committee was 4-3 vote. That's kind of serious. And also there was a recommendation of the Select Board to amend the article, removing sidewalk plow machine, and otherwise approve the article as written. I just want to know why we didn't discuss that.
All right, we need a motion to reconsider. That's a question in the article.
Yes, motion to reconsider Article 13.
And the basis is,
We did not consider the recommendation of the Select Board.
the article had its opportunity for questions, and the article that is presented to the board is that of the Finance Committee. Is there a second to the motion to reconsider based on theory? All right, 2/3 majority is required to reconsider. We'll need a moment for the IT folks to catch up. Two-thirds majority required to reconsider Article 13. The motion is based on, with all due respect, not understanding why the Finance Committee's motion before the board was not clear enough. The voting will begin. That is correct. The yes vote, we will reconsider and have additional discussion. If we vote no, the original vote stands. And it's 2/3 to even begin to reconsider. Do we all understand that? The voting on reconsideration will begin now. 5 seconds. Voting is closed. It is not a majority. The original vote stands. Let me know when you're ready, Madam Clerk. All set? We'll move on to Article 15. Other post-employment benefits liability trust. We have to fund items for our retirees, things that they're not going to get currently as part of their salary tax. Any questions or comments on Article 15? Hearing or seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 16, stabilization fund transfer. You check the dialogue box, you'll see that this represents increasing the stabilization fund balance to 7.5% of the prior operating year budget. Are there any comments or questions on this article? Hearing or seeing none, voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 17, revaluation and interim adjustments. This article provides funding for property revaluations and interim adjustments that may be required in accordance with Mass General Law, not the whims of the Assessor's Department. Any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. 5 seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 18, revolving funds and spending limit for the upcoming fiscal year 27. Town meeting must vote annually on or before July 1st on the amount that can be spent from each revolving fund, meaning to keep their operations going for the upcoming fiscal year. Are there any questions or comments on Article 18? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 19, Water Department. This budget request covers the operating expenses for providing public water in Sturbridge. This is on Article 19.
So, Woodline Drive.
On Article 19?
The water, yes.
Yes.
I just received word from the state of Massachusetts that water will be installed that the Woodlawn Drive area, because of the pollution that was caused by the state with the de-icing from the ramp. I'm just wondering if the water department has a plan or any money allocated for the water use for the people that will be getting water down at Walker Pond.
I'm not sure I understand your question, but
Well, I know the state of Massachusetts spoke with some of the people from the, probably Robin, in regard to the connection.
The state has indicated and has been continuing to work with the town on remediation. Nothing has been formalized yet. We're in fact scheduling, I think May 18th, I haven't told the board yet. We're actually scheduling to have the Commonwealth come in and explain the options that are coming. So it's still very preliminary. At this point, there has been nothing concrete. There are various options that we've talked to the Commonwealth about. They have a plan, and it looks like they are likely to offer some funding for this remediation, but whatever way it's remediated, whether it's directly property to property or through a water line, or whatever it is, it still has to go in front of the board as the water commissioners. So that will happen at a public meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you for your question and education. I didn't know that it happened. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 20, Sewer Department. This article funds our public sewer. Any questions or comments on this article? Seeing or hearing none, voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. Article passes. Article 21, sewer project debt and veterans. This seeks to appropriate the funds necessary to pay our debt service on sewer projects. Any comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 22, stormwater compliance. The funding in this particular article is mandatory, is made mandatory by the DEP. It involves all the stormwater collection systems in Massachusetts, and this is an annual cost. Are there any questions or comments on this article? Seeing or hearing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 23, Water Department pickup with truck plow. After this winter, I think we can understand why maybe they're asking for this. Are there any comments or questions on this particular article? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 24, Water Analysis Treatment Study. The pilot plant for water treatment plant replacement. This will allow for the engineering to start the design of a new water treatment plant. Current treatment plant was constructed in 1982. That's not that old. I graduated from high school, and that's not that long ago. I guess it is old. Are there any questions or comments on this article? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will start now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 25, Cricket Drive Extension Water Main Replacement Design and Construction. Guess this area of the water services breaks a lot, it needs to be replaced. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Thanks everybody that is still here, hanging in there. It may seem routine, but this is very important stuff that we're doing on citizen legislators. Well done. Article 26, Influence Green Room Upgrade Design. I had to look this up. I was on Finance Committee when I actually found out what an influence screen was, and we need them. Currently, they're not functioning properly and have been unreliable and have had frequent and costly repairs, so they need an upgrade. Are there any questions or comments on this article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. All right, Article 27, Influence Green Room Upgrade Construction, and it requires a 2/3 vote. Why? Because we had our mini lesson a little while ago on how the funding was going to be achieved for Article 6, the Trails Bridge. This is required 2/3 because we are asking to borrow money. Are there any questions or comments on this article?
Hi, Flor San Germano, ABC Cedar Street. It says borrowing 1,500,000 or any other amount. So what does it mean in terms of borrowing money? It's very open.
I see what you're looking at, the actual wording of the warrant article itself. The thing we're actually voting on is the recommendation of the Finance Committee, which is a very specific number of $1,555,000.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Rob Cerny, 124 Left Mine Lane. I just have a question. It seems like this year we've got a lot of stuff for the sewer, the water department popping up. Did it kind of fly under the radar, or was it deferred maintenance? Or how do we become aware of everything this year that was needed? I haven't seen anything like this in the last few years at town meeting.
Our TPW director can get more specific. I think generally our infrastructure is aging. These are projects that slow but sure have needed to be done, and at this point, if we don't do them, the impact of not doing them will be greater than the cost of doing them, frankly. It's aging infrastructure. It's things that have taken a few years of process to get into place, to get to the point of where we can do these. You know, we can look back 2020 hindsight and say perhaps we should have spread some of these out more, but the reality is it's all sort of coming to a head. Some of the things we don't expect, and something breaks and we start looking, we realize it's far more expensive than it was. The water treatment plant is truly aging out at this point. And, you know, you try to balance these things, and it really comes down to long-range capital planning. And we are trying to do a better job of that. So, and I think that's what's that.
That's good enough.
So you will see that we do have a couple items on here, and there we did what we have.
A little closer to the microphone,
Sorry.
please. Thank you.
First of all, Heather Blake, DPW Director. We have just completed a comprehensive asset management plan for both the water and the wastewater plants. So that has actually happened so that we can actually plan our capital planning. Prior to this, there really wasn't a capital plan put in place. It was more reactionary. So we are really trying to identify the most critical pieces of equipment and target those for the first upgrades that you're seeing. So that occurred over the last year.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up question or a second?
Yes, I do. I did see, I believe it was a Board of Selectmen meeting, there was a presentation by I don't know, was it Viola who did the presentation on there? And the numbers were staggering, they were showing out. And I get it, it's expensive to have infrastructure. But one thing that really jumped out at me, they were talking about it was an emergency, like PPE situation with a shower and an eye wash system. And there was a number somewhere around $80,000 for that, I believe. I installed them for less than $1,000. Okay?
I think we're going a little off the article.
Just want to say that the numbers are staggering.
Thank you for your commentary.
Chris Farrar, 209 Brookfield. I was just curious, in this case, we're taking a loan, and a couple of the others we were pulling from our fund. Is there anywhere in the book that lists what do we have in these funds, like left over? So like, there's only
This is a borrowing article.
Right, so is there something to indicate like why is this a borrow versus we're pulling from the sewer fund? Like somewhere that indicates what's in these funds? Is that,
So right now in the sewer undesignated fund balance is $1.4 million. At the end of fiscal year 25 coming into this.
Thank you.
That's not NAPWRK, it is not.
Mr. Smith, where could a taxpayer find that? Is it on our website?
Actually, good that you should ask, because we're about to take this up in June about how to make the book more informative. And this is something we should include. So it's a great
Thank you for
point
the
us to-
commentary, thank you for the question, and you can see better things to come. Thank you. Any additional questions or comments on this article?
I apologize, President Romano, 86 Cedar Street. That's because I'm new to this and trying to understand. So in a previous, are these things like cumulative? So in the previous, I think it was Article 21, was an increase in 10% of the sewer, and this one will imply a $1.12 increase in sewer, and the next one, I think is Article 29, is an increase of 0.7 cents per 100 cubic feet. So are these all cumulative?
Yes.
Okay, so then like at the end, like we should add all this to get the Article 3.
Any additional questions or comments? Thank you for your question. All right, seeing none additional, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Right? That's why I went to law school and not medical school. Now I'm just challenged. Article 28, Route 20 pump station replacement and preliminary design. The sewer pump station was constructed in 1969, and it needs to be replaced and upgraded. Any comments or questions on this article? Seeing none, then the voting will begin now. Seconds.
It's just a question on voting on the previous article, which was 2/3. Did we get the 2/3?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And Article 28 has passed. All right, we will move on to Article 29. It is not printed in your book, but this is a 2/3 vote because it involves borrowing. All right, this is the last of 3 primary treatment units that need to be painted and rehabilitated. You may recall having seen these if you've attended most recent ones, that this is a project that we are somewhat familiar with. Are there any questions or comments on this article? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. And the article passes. Article 30, tree removal and maintenance. Self-explanatory. Any questions or comments on this article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Seconds. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 31, a school bus. Any comments or questions on this article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed, and the article passes. Article 32, I am aware of a substitute or an amended motion presented by citizen Kevin Smith.
That's correct.
And I have received a copy of it in writing, and I'm providing that to
Okay, Kevin Smith, 148 Fisk Hill Road. I'm looking to amend Article 32 by replacing paragraph G with one that would read, "The Finance Committee shall conclude its deliberations and include its recommendations to the town meeting on both the annual and any special town meeting, open parentheses, if one is scheduled the same night as the town meeting, close parentheses, warrants by the start of the town meeting in the year in which it will consider said warrants and to otherwise approve the article as written." And essentially what I'm trying to do is like what you've seen here. We met last Thursday and took these votes. In the original language, it says all of our motions have to be done and concluded by the first Monday in April. Well, sometimes new facts come to light. There have been many occasions where we've stood right in front of here on a town meeting night and had to take a vote to make a recommendation to the town meeting body, which is our charge. We're supposed to review things and tell you what our opinion is and how we think you should vote on things. And by not allowing us to go right to the last minute, I'm afraid that people will just be able to say, okay, our general bylaw says you had to be done by that first Monday in April, whether it was the April 1st or April 7th. And since you weren't done, your motion doesn't count, and we'd have a debate on the floor about whether it should or shouldn't. This year it kind of works because we're still living with the old one that says we have to have it delivered by June. So
Thank you for the
that's what I'm
explanation.
asking you to do.
Any additional comments or questions on the article as a whole, considering that amendment?
Chris Road, 209 Brookfield Road, would that impact, like when we would find out, so like the stuff you do have, would that still get published? Would that
Yes.
impact-
Yeah, the stuff we voted for, it would only be things that change after we print it out. It wouldn't likely reconsider everything. That's a lot of work.
We still have ample time to see a book.
Yes, you'd be getting, it used to be, we used to try to provide books 2 weeks prior to the town meeting, the printed versions, and they were online probably a month, 3 weeks beforehand. But we moved to April now, and it's really condensed our timeline and how we have to get things done. So, we didn't get the book delivered to the town hall until Friday of last week. But the printed version had been out there for 2 weeks at least. I'm sorry, the online version, I said printed.
All right, so first, I want to clarify what the amendment is, so that we all agree on it. The Finance Committee shall conclude its deliberations and include its recommendations to the town meeting on both the annual and any special town meeting, if one is scheduled the same night as the town meeting, warrants at the start of the town meeting in the year in which it will consider said warrants. It's written out, but essentially it's what Mr. Smith explained. The Finance Committee wants the bylaw to read that they can give their recommendations right up to the last minute based on the latest information that they have. Mr. Morrison.
Larry Morrison, 66 Old Farm Road. The Finance Committee, so to speak, is always in the kitchen. Sometimes there are no ingredients. Sometimes the ingredients don't get delivered till the day of. That's what this is really about. When the ingredients show up, the committee's ready. But it can't make something with nothing. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendment? All right, a second on the amendment only. By voice vote? Yea? Yea. Nay? The amendment carries, and now we will vote on the article and the amended, the article as a whole, Article 32. Any questions on any other parts of the changes to Article 32 of the bylaws? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Oh, 3, 2, 1. If we need more time, we'll do it. Francis has not closed the voting, so continue to vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Voting is now closed. And the article passes. Sometimes we get a little ahead of ourselves at this time of night. All right, that said, then I will accept a motion to adjourn the town meeting, and we will move directly into the special town meeting.
So moved.
A second? Voice vote? Nay? No one wants to keep talking? Great. All right, I didn't schedule any breaks. We are going to move right into this. If you need to move around, please do, but please exit the auditorium. Part of the amendment, just like Article 8, we received some changes that were made tonight based on essentially last-minute information. We will go through, and I will call the special town meeting to order. And we will begin with Article 55. You see in the printout the recommendation of the Finance Committee for $294,556. Any questions or comments on this article? Seeing none, we will begin the vote on Article 55 of the special town meeting now. When I said earlier, when I was giving instructions on why it is what happens here in the clerk's notes, the article that you have and the amount that I read for this article, a recommendation of the Finance Committee is what you were handed out tonight, and it's $294,556. It is not the amount that we previously had available that appears on this slide. It is the amended amount in the handouts that you received and what I recited. Is that clear to file? Thank you. And it's in the clerk's notes. Thank you. Okay, Article 56. Article 56, the recommendation of the Finance Committee is that the town take no action, and that is because we paid all our bills. We don't need to. We need not vote, so we move on to Article 57. All right, Article 57. Wastewater treatment plant clarifier and repairs. You have the printout. The recommendation of the Finance Committee is the amount of $105,000. It happens to be the same. Any questions or comments on Article 57? Hearing and seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 58, library outdoor program space and accessible entrance. I may have the town administrator give additional information if needed, but you may recall that as a part of the fiscal year 2026 capital plan, a certain figure had been budgeted for expanding the ADA programs at the library. And I take it that our town employees were a little surprised at a single bid and that it came in significantly higher than $110,000, is that correct? This now takes into account a better educated group of individuals who authored this Article 58 for the library expansion. Are there any questions or comments on Article 58?
Deb St. Laurent, 15 Williams Road. I did notice in the Stonebridge Press that they're also holding a public meeting on May 11th to discuss the ADA improvements to the outdoor deck and ramp system. So are we voting tonight and also going to the public meeting on May 11th?
Well, that's, okay, yeah. So that is, no, what you would be voting on tonight is the funding. Planning board is voting on the preliminary design work on the site plan work, yeah, on the site plan for that, which is part of the process that we have to go through. So that's a separate meeting. You could go to that if you were interested in how it's going to look and the design of it. And they've already started asking questions about the tree that's there and all of those types of things. So this is planning, looking at the actual design of it.
So basically you're saying, I'm just thinking this out loud, so the article you're thinking is going to pass tonight, so that's why we're going to have a special meeting on May 11th?
Well, the project had started, so we had, in order to be able to do the project, it has to be approved through planning. We had already started with that original, way back, we had started with design and whatever else, thinking when we went out to bid.
Yeah,
Thinking,
I did see the design plans, I have those two from last year.
right, so because we originally, when we went out to bid, were hopeful we would come in close and did not. We had already started the design work. Either way, the permitting and designs would have to go through planning.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Any additional questions or comments?
Bill Bouvier, 81 Sturbridge Hills. Can somebody explain to me why we need to spend $130,000 on open space outside the library?
It's $240,000.
It's an additional 130. So a little bit of explanation on this. This is a multifaceted project. We have handicap accessibility issues at the library, including the fact that our outdoor space currently that we use is the common, and the common is not ADA accessible for that type of programming. So if we wanted to continue to use outdoor space, we would have to do something anyway because the common is not accessible. Additionally, and one of the reasons there's additional funding is what was also not considered is that the rear doors on the library are not ADA accessible. So we have to replace the rear doors on the library anyway, which would mean building ramps. And part of this project is going to have to happen for ADA accessibility regardless. So while we were doing that, this allows for outdoor programming space and ADA accessibility. Because without the the actual deck being built, we could potentially be subject to a challenge on our using the common for outdoor programming, particularly the children's programming.
Katie Dennis, 27 Draper Woods Road, and Robin's correct. So under 521 CMR, your state accessibility code, when they did the HVAC and bathroom upgrades a few years back, that triggered full compliance. And those back doors are both egress and entry doors and required to be fully compliant. In addition, they recently did an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan and identified that the outdoor program space that they have now is sloped and on a grass surface, and also using the common is not fully compliant. So this is to meet the code and the laws, and not doing so can lead us open to litigation and complaints. But I think more importantly, I think the library is trying to do the right thing here, right? Create a space that everyone in our town can use. So I really hope that you're not just voting to meet the law, but creating a space for all of our community and making a welcoming place for everyone. Thanks.
Thank you for your commentary and explanation. Any additional comments or questions on this article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 59, Dowdy Road Planning Services. It's great to get a plot of land donated. Now we have to make sure we use it properly. That's what this article seeks. Any questions or comments on this article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Article 60, adoption of Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Sections 42A, 42F, and Mass General Laws, Chapter 83, Sections 16A and 16F. You'll note that the recommendation of the Finance Committee is that no action be taken on this article. This is the Finance Committee's position and research that indicates that these were already accepted by the town meeting in 1990, and therefore recommending that the article be passed over. Hearing no action will be taken on the article. Article 61, transfer of funds. You'll note in the dialogue box that these are both transfer of funds that are to the appropriate accounts for expenditures. Do I understand, Ms. Town Administrator, that this is bookkeeping, but also to make sure the right money is being used for the right projects?
Absolutely.
All right. Are there any questions or comments on this transfer of funds article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Five seconds. Voting is closed. Article 61 passes. Article 62, underground storage tank removal and installation of a new above-ground tank. We need to replace the DPW's underground fuel tanks. I think that goes without saying in this day and age. Are there any questions or comments on this particular article? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. The article passes. Last article. Article 63. This is a two-thirds vote. Why? Because it is a zoning issue. Mr. Blanchard, I see you have commentary to offer. Thank you, sir. Yes.
Okay, ready for this? Okay. Charlie Blanchard, 26 Foxborough Road, the chairman of the planning board. The planning board held a public meeting on Monday, January 26, 2026, to consider proposed amendments to the zoning bylaw that would insert a temporary moratorium on large-scale, standalone battery energy storage systems. The hearing was legally published in the local newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks, and all others were notified as required. At the meeting on the 26th, a motion was made by Susan Waters, seconded by Brad Goodman, and voted 6-0 to support the proposed change as written. Taylor Stedman was absent.
Thank you, Mr. Blanchard. Any additional questions or comments on this zoning bylaw? Seeing none, the voting will begin now. Voting is closed. 2/3 is passed. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for your patience with me while I had a few bumps in the road. I always try to make a perfect meeting. That didn't happen tonight, but it was procedurally and legally correct. Thank you again. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Voice vote?